now sort of like getting into the product space as well. Today we're going to talk about building AI prototypes with Lovable and n8n. So these tools very popular these days. We've seen a lot of people use these for different purposes with the AI sort of the boom. So we'll go into a bit detail on both of these tools, and we'll also look at and how to sort of combine them together to build something that we can sort of share with the public. We can get it out there in the wild. So to make sure that it's recording, yes. So the plan is to build something super fast. So initially the talk is planned for 60 minutes, but the idea is to build it much faster so that we have more time to sort of discuss things and sort of the capabilities of these tools and all the limitations of these tools. So if you look at um, the traditional software development versus the AI prototyping space, I think like there are like fundamentally like drastically different. Like when I mean AI prototyping, not necessarily using AI to sort of build ground up software. This is more like vibe coding. You sort of use these tools to build products super fast, and then sort of get to a place where we can sort of either demo that or like share with initial users to sort of get feedback. So traditional, you start from sort of the user interfaces or the sort of the API layer and start developing. And when you look at like the AI sort of point of view, we sort of like thinking about like what sort of capabilities the tools that needs to have and start building from there. So you straight go into like building those tools. Traditional is very deterministic. We know like how the system's going to behave. And if you look at AI, very probabilistic at the application level, and also while we are sort of developing it. And um, if you get like traditional software engineering, it's like you have a spec and you start building that according to that spec, which comes from the requirements engineering, and that's the general flow. But when it comes to AI, so you sort of explore what it can do. And you go with an idea first and then explore what these tools can build, and then sort of like iteratively sort of add more features into that and test, and you refine it and get to the point where you want to get to. Whether it's a UI tweak, whether it's a functionality tweak, you iteratively improve that. So traditional software, it takes, especially because it takes a lot of time to get features built, there's a very long feedback loop. But if you take like AI-driven prototyping, builds are much more faster because purely you can build things much faster. You can easily deploy it, and you put it out there while so that users can use it and give you feedback. So these iterations are much more faster. So those are like some of the differences between traditional software engineering and like the AI based prototyping. Yeah, I think this is one way to look at it, but this is not the only sort of the comparison that you may have with these tools. So if you look at like from a prototyping point of view, um, we can think about from like three layers. You have the interface layer, what users interact with, whether it's a graphical user interface or a voice agent, like whatever that is, like that is the initials of the layer that you will interact with. And then you have the intelligence layer that sort of interact with LLMs, you have prompts, you have certain logics. So you have the intelligence layer after that. Then you'll have the orchestration layer. This could be in combination with the intelligence layer. You'll have the workflows, automations that are sitting behind the UI, and you sort of that will sort of manage your interaction with the application. So this is one of the most common ways that AI applications get built. So we'll sort of look into how some of these layers, and especially Lovable and n8n. So Lovable. So I think like Lovable is one of those tools out there with a massive fundraise, really moving super fast, one of the fastest unicorns out there. So what they do is like you use prompting to build software. That's how it's initially started, and right now they've sort of integrated a lot of backend capabilities as well. So they've integrated Superbase version of it at least within the system. So you have the database mechanisms, authentication, and all sort of backend sort of logic is inbuilt as well. So you can sort of within one click you can deploy this. Laravel also has the the AI integration. So that means like they sort of gives you out of the box the ability to integrate like AI sort of endpoint. So your application could have AI features straight away, whether it's a multimodal endpoint or a traditional LLM based endpoint, you can have that right now. So this was happened very recent, like maybe a couple of months ago. Initially, you had to sort of connect different external endpoints to get these things working. So they initially had a super-based integration. So they sort of offloaded their sort of back-end work with Superbase. Right now, they sort of moved everything in-house, so you have a lot more control with this. So they cover all the cost with the credits that you buy in, so you don't have to think about separately how to sort of use it. Um, but that's the introduction about Laravel. But if you think about like when to apply, so Lovable is really great if you want to like do like really good UX and like test an idea super fast. And you want to like test it out with users, especially like small set of users. But if you want to like build it for like massive audiences, it might not be the best sort of solution, but it sort of serves a purpose at this point to quickly get from an idea to sort of a product, and then you can do a lot of backend work within Lovable, where you can sort of connect things like n8n and sort of handle that the backend logic piece to build more sophisticated integrations in the backend. So how I use Lovable is predominantly use Lovable to get the UI first and the workflows right, and then I'll either if it is a relatively complex build, I use Cursor separately, get the code and start building. But if it's still like a relatively lightweight application, but I need a bit of flexibility, I'll move to something like n8n and build the workflows there and sort of connect that to Lovable, and then you can sort of build a quick application which is deployable very fast. So if it is like heavy backend logic, you have like complex data transformation logics, I wouldn't use Lovable. So Lovable is for like relatively sort of smaller builds or like highly defined sort of use cases. Um, when the backend is heavy, Lovable is not the best place. So that's the idea to keep in mind when you use Lovable. Then n8n. So n8n is a tool that is open source, and it's also provides a cloud service as well. So what they provide is like if you haven't seen n8n, the 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 most recent like immediate connection is something like Zapier, where you do like automations. So you connect different sort of nodes. You think about sort of business workflow, and you create that using these specific integrations. So it's an extension, like very similar process, but they're like pretty much AI first. So because of that, they build a lot of AI architectures in place, AI workflows in place compared to other players, and also they also like have this open source capability. So because of that, a lot of companies who are concerned about privacy violations, things like that, they could host this locally and have their workflows running. So that got them a lot of, I would say, market share compared to other players, because most of the players had to sort of use their cloud services, and that took a bit of time to get approvals and things like that. In n8n, you can out of the box deploy it locally with a service, and then you can run it without a cost. From n8n, you have to have server cost, but beyond that, there's no other cost. So so what n8n does is really good is like you can build relatively complex AI sort of workflows using different kinds of LLM models, different kinds of vector databases. Like you can build agents, multi-agent systems within n8n, and you can connect them to Lovable. So if you need to visually see and build something in the AI space, n8n is the tool. Otherwise, you have to switch back to something like LangChain or build LangGraph or build something from scratch. So those are the other options you may have, which are good enough if you need to build complex system. But if your problem was the build that you're going to do is, I would say, 90% standard, I would use with n8n, like unless you really have to handle a lot of users, or there's a very unique problem that you're trying to solve. N8n um, might not be the place, um, but most of the case you could use something like n8n to get the work done. So think about it as this nervous system between AI and product logic. So you can sort of run this workflows behind the user interface. So I think like I spoke a lot on like on a theoretical point of view. I think the best way to like see this is actually see how we can build it. So you're gonna like build like a very simple tool where you have Lovable as a front end and you have the n8n workflows, and then you may have some logic behind as well. And you'll tap into an LLM via the n8n workflow, and you get the response back. So this is like a very simple architecture we can think about. And yeah, so we'll try to do something with this. So I think before I move into Labo, I'll move into n8n. So if you sort of n8n has like, as I said, two versions. Like you have the local deployable version, so you can get an image from like a Docker image or something like that, and you can deploy it locally. Other option is you have the cloud version, which I've done. So if you type in 810, so if you go to the website, you can sort of like sign in, and then you get the cloud services, and you get the same sort of UI as like this, where you can sort of create these agents. So we're gonna try and build something from scratch. I don't know if it will work, but let's sort of play around. So you can go to create workflow. So you'll go to this canvas of n8n, which is the place where you build sort of tools. So you have quite a few options here. You have the editor mode, you have the executions, you have the evaluations. First, what you need to do is like add a step. So step is the first node. Sorry, the first step you need to add a node that would that would trigger this agent that we're going to build. So if you click here, you'll see you get few options to sort of add here. So you got sort of the trigger, you can trigger manually. You can trigger this agent based on application event. You can run it on a schedule, on a webhook, things like that. So there are multiple ways you can trigger this agent. So one of the best ways to test within this is to use on chat message. So the best part about this is it helps you sort of chat here and test your agent. So we're going to try and build this like a very simple agent that can, let's say, write something to Notion and read from Notion. So that's the idea that I have in mind, like try to build something which is simple enough. So initial step is to have a chat node so that we can chat with the agent. When it's in public, you can sort of remove this and sort of connect that to Lovable. Then you press here. As you can see, it's very like visual. You can sort of click and you can sort of add things as you go. So there are a few things you can do at this point. We're gonna stay with AI. Click on AI sort of section, and then we're gonna click an AI agent. So I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to add this. So as you can see, um, the AI agent module is already pre-built. It comes with three options. You have the chat chat model, you have the memory module, and you get the tool module. So for the agent to work, you at least need the chat model integrated. So you're going to type here OpenAI. I'm going to add that. So right now my OpenAI is running on free credits. So n8n provides some free credits to play around with it. So we're gonna stick with it for now. Hopefully it will work. I'm not going to change anything else. You can, if needed, change the models. So you got a lot of options here for your n8n agent. You can sort of integrate different tools, web search, file search, things like that. Very similar to ChatGPT. And you have other options around like the sampling, temperature, ti- timeout, etc. So you get a few options here, but we're not going to change anything. We're going to just connect the chat model. Let's see if we can sort of chat with it. And that's the first thing you need to try. So as you can see, it sort of like worked. It sort of replied back. Very simple, and the best part is you can see visually how this is running through. So if you go to executions, you'll see that specific execution is stored. So you can go back in time and see what sort of interactions happened. We come back. I'm going to say. Want to know capital of the UK? Yeah. Okay. Uh, where is it? So now I'm gonna ask like wait, similar to ChatGPT, I'm gonna ask where is it? So right now, um, as you can see, it's hallucinating. Um, because it doesn't have the context that we previously asked a question about London. So because it didn't have the context that it's supposed to do. So we need to make sure that we connect a memory module. So memory module will help you to remember the past interactions. So you click here, you add that. So there's option here for your memory module to remember, like let's say if you put 10, it will remember 10 previous interactions with you. So it will sort of use that within the context of the next query. So I'm gonna try it again. Uh, Probably. Okay, so yeah, I probably need to add my credits. I'm gonna give me a second. I'm going to. Okay, should be fine. Let's see. Yeah, so it worked. So right now, I mean, it's fine. It said London. I'm gonna ask the same question. Where is it? Right now, it gave the right answer because it has in the memory. So it checked like if it had any values, and then sort of previously there was conversation around the previous conversation we had, so that was stored as well, and it's tied together. You send both of those questions, question and answer, and the new question together to the LLM, and you get a result back. And it makes sure to like save that information as well in the context as an answer, and then sort of give us the answer. So if you ask something again, it will sort of do the same. So up to 10 sort of conversation. So I'm going to like leave it like that for now, because what I want to like go back to is like to show that how this can be publicly accessed. So there's one option here. If you save and publish, um, so you need to like save this and publish this, and then you'll have a link, um, make it public, and then you get a link that you can chat with it. Let me see. I think it takes a bit of time for it to get generated. Let me see. Take a bit of time. I'll let it be. Okay, so it came back. So right now it's hard coded to have my name is Nathan because if we go here, if you click on this one, you'll see it says hi there. My name is Nathan. So it's so I'm gonna say, hey, what is the capital of the UK? So this endpoint you can publicly share. So anybody, so if you build an agent, complex agent, you can let them sort of interact with it. So this is a service that n8n provides. If you build like a very complex agent, you can sort of expose that. This execution is stored here. So the specific execution I did right now is this one. So it gets stored. So you can check if this has any errors, you can check that. But the best part is not that. So because you can build multiple like complex agents here, but what you need to do is like you need to build like a prettier user interface. So to do that, we are going to Lovable. So remember that we need to sort of memorize this URL, and then we'll use that within Lovable side. So Lovable is simply similar to ChatGPT type of interface. You can sort of type what you want to build here, and then start building. So there are previous builds that were done from other people, so you can get inspiration from. All of these are built through Lovable, and you can chat with it. You can sort of have a voice conversation, and then you can select the theme that you want it to have. You can attach like screenshots if you need to attach like sort of documents. You can do that, and it also have connectors. So you could have different kinds of connectors. So if you need to have like Stripe within your account, Shopify, Superbase separately, 11 Labs Voice, Firecrawl to scroll things, and other sort of quite a few integrations. Even n8n you can connect directly. Um, so I'm gonna let it be for now. Um, but just remember that you can do that. So it can access them directly and sort of build applications around it. Like if, let's say if my application needs to have payment details, it will automatically adjust that. Do that with the Stripe account, and then you can have that within your system. So that's the beauty of Lovable. So I'm going to try and say is like build me a simple chat app. Um, I want you to use the N8 and endpoint for this. Um, yeah, I'm gonna ask it to build. So I'm gonna let it build, no issues. So hopefully it will sort of come through. Yeah, if it doesn't come through, I've got a demo that I built like 30 minutes before. We can check that, but it's the same idea. So we can build within Laravel. So I'll let it run through. So while it's running through, I'll sort of explain like what this interface looks like. So you have you can ask Lovable, you have the visual edits. So let's say if you have some sort of a UI change that you need to do, but you don't want to run it via Lovable because Lovable tend to lose a lot of credits because it's, yeah, it does. So you lose your credits super fast. So if you need to do that, you can go to visual edits and then I'll show in a bit. You can click that place and start sort of interacting with it. There's also the chat option. So if you don't want it to build anything, but you need to have a conversation with the code, ideate, so you can move to chat and then sort of have a conversation with it. So it says it's done, but I'm not 100% sure. We need to chat with it because like sometimes it breaks because the n8n, the workflow and the format that brings in the data from this side might not be the way that we want it to. But anyway, say hi. Let's see. So yeah, so we got an error. That's fine. We're gonna go and like find on an 8 side what happened. So if you refresh here, yeah. So as you can see, the message came through, but yeah, there was an error. So it says the simple node sort of memory part is not working properly. And I'm going to open that. I'm going to see, okay. So yeah, session ID is not present. I'm going to share that information. Please fix this. Um, so this is also might not going to fix the issue because I previously ran this and it had another issue, which is around it's expecting the the expected output. Um, yeah, I'm gonna like let it run through. And I'm gonna take a screenshot of this. I'm gonna say this is what it looks like. So this is like the sort of the value of an A10. You can sort of like get screenshots and like put them, share like data from that side. If you did the N8N integration, it's gonna be fine. So it will now have a session ID, but it still wouldn't fix the issue because I think there's another issue that will pop up, but we'll fix that when it comes. So while it's happening, I want to like show this one, which is I haven't enabled it. This is the Lovable Cloud aspect. So you'll have um, built-in backend. So you have the database, storage, all kinds of things. And if your application start building that, you'll start seeing that information here. And you can build LLM applications and you can see what sort of LLMs are available. So that's sort of the quick introduction of Lovable Cloud, which is the backend side of Lovable. And then the application. And if you really need to see, you can see the code as well. So you can have the code, you can download the code. So you have a lot of options. You can search files. Etc. Yeah, and let's see if this works. Yeah, so now right now this works, and if you so this is now publicly shareable URL. This, yeah, so it fixed that. What is it? Yeah, so it means in memory and everything. You can have this conversation. So you have the option to like publish this, and you can add custom. If you have a URL bot, you can make add the custom domain as well. So you can do that. So have your sort of URL to have this conversation, and you can sort of do any changes on this one. So let's say to have red instead of theme, and it'll fix this. I don't even like need to like it will sort of think like look at this and think about this, and you can do a lot of like front end changes here without much of an issue. So Lovable is not the only tool that can do this. There are other players in the market like Replit. You have like AI Studio build mode. You have things like Bolt, V0. There's multiple options in the market. Lovable is one of the leading players. It's very easy to sort of interact with it. So we can sort of build much more complex things right now. I'm gonna like pause here so that you guys can ask questions, and if need be, I can sort of like build more stuff around it depending on the questions we get. Um, yeah. Um, yeah, I think there are a few questions. I'll start picking them off. Feel free to sort of unmute yourself and ask as well. So would love to sort of hear those. It's a very good question. James asks, is the most cost-effective option? Um, No, this is not the most cost-effective option. This is the fastest way to like build something. Most cost-effective, I would say, is not to use AI, because if you use AI, it's going to cost money. And even if you use AI, there are different tiers. You can use ChatGPT, Claude Code, something like that, and it's going to be relatively cheaper. The second tier is something like Cursor. Third option is something like Lovable, which is slightly expensive. Does Lovable work with Figma MCP? For sure. Yes, Lovable works with Figma. They have an integration. You can sort of port things from Figma, similar to the cursor works with Figma, so you can like pull a Figma design and start get that built. So yeah, hope that answers your question, and thanks a lot, Peter, for sharing that link. So no one asked a question: can Claude Code, similar to how Lovable helps with UX, be used to build AI agents in n8n? The answer is yes. So how we do that is like so I can show with cursor that how you can do it. So you need to like if you go here, is this? It's a bit weird. Settings. And if you go to external secrets, yeah. So I haven't sort of put the plan here. Like so, if you go here, you can sort of enable you get the endpoint and then connect that with cursor, and you can sort of directly sort of wide code your workflow, and you'll start building the workflow within the n8n space, and you can sort of start using it very similar, like they'll sort of use this feature. So if we go back, you might have seen if I start a new workflow, let's see, I just wanna go back, I create a new workflow, and I say, build it there, build me a simple agent that has simple memory and a chat trigger. So it will sort of use AI to build that. Very similarly, you can directly plug into n8n via the API keys and ask it to do the same, and it will start building it. So these nodes are like sort of you can sort of like copy this. If you look at this workflow, you can. So if you copy this sort of workflow, let me see if I can paste it here. So as you can see at the top, it's a very long sort of a JSON object that sort of defines the sort of logical connections. And then you can sort of paste that at a separate place and it will work fine. So you can copy paste this to like someone else's canvas as well and it will work fine. So that's the beauty of it. So you can this is a very easily portable these workflows. You can copy paste them. Sort of going back. So as you can see, it's still running, but it's sort of creating this what we build right now. So it's still, yeah, I mean, it's building. Hope that answers the question, Norman. So another question from Peter: if you imagine product development with AI embedded end to end, not just build, yes, what are the most valuable use cases that fundamentally change how product teams work? Um, it's a very tough question. Let me see. Very product development with AI. Is the question around like building AI products, or is it like using products, using AI in the product development process?
using AI in the product development process?
Got it. Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think there are multiple things you can do, right? So one of the most common ways I've seen it is with like user research. So there are like multiple tiers of user research you can do. You can do automated user research where you uh, get some sort of AI to sort of do interviews, things like that, and see how they sort of interact with it. And you can do analyze like thousands of like massive amounts of voice interviews and like see like how people interact with it. You can sort of process a lot of information, which was take in the past like individual user researchers to extract those information. Another angle is that you can automatically do like usability testing, accessibility testing, so all kinds of things you can easily do. Like so before you need a lot of people have to think about this cost, etc. AI can do these kind of things, and also um, so yeah, so the testing part and the analysis part is going to be super sort of augmented with AI, and then rather than creating PRDs, you can actually build the product itself, and that becomes like it's a live PRD, so that you have something that you can go to talk to the engineering team to say this is what I want to get built, and how feasible this is, like what are the issues, so you can have like a much more richer conversation. So that's gonna like drive product like sort of people to much more closer to the engineering team, and it makes life much easier. So there's less of a chance for ambiguous sort of information sharing. So that's one good thing. And also I think even like when you use like this is not necessarily I would say product development process, but more like um, I would say um, it's more of an engineering thing, like because you can build things much faster, you can build features much faster. So you will see a lot of features getting built super fast. Like you can sort of go through the backlog much faster compared to in the past because you need like a lot of back and forth, like a lot of planning. So you can do things much faster if the features are like well defined, like very scoped out. You can build them super fast. And like if I go to Lovable, right? So if somebody, let's say, really need like a PRD, I'll say, can you create a PRD of this app? So I can ask you to do it. Like so, hopefully it will sort of generate that rather than building the code. So it will sort of create the PRD for you from the application that you start interacting with it. So now it becomes like the ideas person can actually build the product super fast. I mean, obviously there are issues around security, logging details, none of these are there, but actually the product itself you can build much faster and you can sort of get something out like this very quickly. API contract, everything, and you get the flow chart as well, very simple one. So you have a much richer um, sort of a process for like creating PRDs, etc. So those are my initial thoughts, I would say. I mean, yeah, happy to have a longer discussion. This is a very interesting question. Hope that answers the question, Peter. Sorry.
Thank you.
Cool. Amazing. Any other questions, guys? Cool. We've got one more slide, I think. Yeah, I think very simple slide. It's more about like to sort of cover mistakes in prototyping, like starting with models instead of user problems. I think this is like traditional sort of product sort of engineering sort of concepts. Like you probably need to start with the user problem, start sort of thinking about the models and the applications, and you try to over engineer way too early. And then ultimately you might be sort of might need to break things like when things don't align and sort of considering a output as truth because these are always probabilistic. So because of that you need to while you're building and also when the application is built you need to sort of consider all of these things sort of knowing that AI is very probabilistic. So also ignoring failure states. So you have to like pay much more attention to when things fails and why things fails because it's very important that you debug them because like you build using AI. So you can't like if something fails, definitely need to pay a lot of attention and sort of fix that. Um, Question from Mike. Have you tried using the UI capabilities from Gemini 3 using anti-gravity? Yes, I do have. I didn't like the IDE much. So I mean, so anti-gravity is let me see if I can open it. I had this installed, but I'll show it very quickly. Uh, so I had this install. So this is like IDE free to use so far, which is probably I think this is a wrapper around what's a company that they acquired very recently? I think Windsurf. So it's a Windsurf sort of wrapper. That's my sort of gut feeling. So they have sort of used that. Uh, it's still not the best compared to Cursor, but it's a free tool that you can sort of use. So you can like yeah, you got a lot of integration with Google, and I think yeah, this is a question like, do you use different models for different specific steps when you write code? I I think like I always try my best to like stick to either something like something from Claude, the Anthropic models. So they do have like OPS things like that are really good, and also like the cursor models like Compose are also good, which is very fast compared to Claude code, because Claude has a lot of demand. Like because of that, like it's sometimes best to switch to Compose, and which is really good, like very at the same level of like sort of performance when it comes on the benchmarks. So those are the tools that I've been using. Gemini is also interesting. I would say like I mean Gemini 3 especially. So if you go to AI Studio, you go to home and go to build. So this is like very similar to Lovable. If I ask it to build, let's see if we can pass this endpoint as well. You can ask something like this, and it will build it for you. It's free to use. You can play around with it. Very similar tool, and but it doesn't have the same level of capability as Lovable yet. But they're moving super fast. Their voice agents are really good. So if you need to add voice agents, it's a really good one. And the UI is also much better. I would say, very similar tool. So yeah, I sort of mix between different tools, depending on how well they're performing. Hope that answers the question, Mike. If we reimagine productive development, yeah, okay. Okay, that's a question answer from Tom. In AI prototype, have you experimented with spec-driven development, for example, using GitHub Spec Kit to bring more structure and reduce vibe coding? Yeah, I've done that a lot. I think so how I go about this is like I would probably start from like probably API documentation, Norman. I think that sort of tend to be this contract that I have with the front end and the back end, so that if I have the 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 um the API layer sort of fixed, it's much more easy to wipe code. Otherwise, it's get really messy if you start from one end of like the front end or the back end. Especially when you're like building a massive tool. If it's a very simple tool, doesn't matter. So yeah, I think that's my sort of way of thinking about it. But when it comes to like cursor things like that, I tend to sort of layer in feature by feature. So I mean I have like within the sort of the code space, the context, you have the spec, but I probably like build feature by feature. So let you layer that in and make sure everything's working fine, and only then sort of add, rather than like feeding in the entire spec and asking you to build, because it's gonna get the content's gonna be large and can't sort of like easily build that. So that's my sort of approach for building with large specs. I sort of break it down and sort of run it through the system. Hope that answers the question. If this will work. Yeah. Um, yeah, this needs a bit of debugging, but you also have the code, so you can play around with it. Um, any other questions, guys? And like feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Like if you guys have like other questions, like feel free to drop a message. I'm more than happy to sort of answer them. So I continuously do these kind of sessions. Good to like um sort of if you guys have any sort of thoughts and like share them with me. Would love to hear feedback. And also if you guys love to explore like specific topic, do reach out. So like we have like around 30 odd lighting lessons planned out for the next like couple of weeks. So yeah, so it'd be a lot of sessions we're doing. Feel free to join in. Mike has a question. Do you think they will implement custom UI in the next version of n8n, like the 3.0 agents? Custom UI. I don't know. I feel like n8n sort of like position is not necessarily UI because there are a lot of players doing UI. So they are sort of positioning is making sure they are up to date with the AI sort of integrations. Like if there are new AI models coming out, new AI architectures coming out, they'll make sure those things are aligned because that is moving super fast, and they are sort of capturing that side of the market. And they also have this play around like this locally deployed sort of versions, and they create this like ecosystem of consultants who go and like sort of deploy innate and workflows. So that's the interesting part that I'm seeing developing. I don't know, maybe they might have something because it's relatively easy to build and it could add a lot of value for innate, and but then it moves towards lovable sort of domain rather than sort of owning their sort of the backend sort of the workflow logic. So yeah. Peter has, do you have a favorite vibe coding tool and why? Any others you recommend um, other than Laravel, I guess? Yeah, I mean, vibe coding tool. Cursor is my tool. Like I don't know if it's vibe coding, but Cursor is my go-to tool for a lot of coding work. I do like relatively vibe code with it. And from a front-end point of view, I prefer Laravel or V0. AS3 is also good, but I don't. Apart from prototypes, I don't use it to build application. Replit used to be relatively good. Yeah, exactly. So I haven't used it in the last couple of months, I think. I think they've sort of improved a lot as well. So I think those are my sort of like go-to ones. I've tested out almost all of them, and I've sort of like stuck with Laravel and Replit also interesting, yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, yeah, so Claude Code and stuff. So, and even Cursor has apps. You can, not just your phone, you can have it on your smartwatch. You can ask it to build something while you start running, and then it will build it for you when the run is done. So, yeah, I've tried those. It's quite interesting that you can build stuff super fast. I've done like, I've sort of like fixed bugs on my phone, like just, I don't even see the code. I send, sort of PRs, and when you send the PR you can set up like Gemini code assist to review the PR, and it will automatically review that, and if there are issues you can read that and send another sort of update because it's connected. It can read and sort of do that for you, and then get it sort of merged, so that way you can directly send sort of vibe code from your phone. Like really interesting point. Tabitha, yes, 100% base 44. That's the other one. So base 44 quite interesting. Their UIs are really good. And I think it's an interesting sort of a case study as well. So they sold the company, I think, for 60 or maybe 70 million USD. And this is like a eight people sort of company. Like it's amazing exit story as well. But yeah, base 44, I see so many ads of them. I've like played around with it. What I've seen is their UIs are relatively good, like very clean, quite nice. But that's not necessarily not because it's not good, but because with my sort of sticking with like one set of tools has been tend to be quite useful. Almost all of these tools have very overlapping features like Lovable, V0, Replit, you name it. So with smaller nuances. So yeah, I think base 44 is another recommendation. Yeah. Anita, like, do you suggest any reading resources to learn how to effectively use N8N? Um, I think let me quickly show you this. N8N has these workflows in the community. You look at this. If you go here, you have like around like yeah 7,754 automations, and people have shared their sort of workflows here. So you can pick a domain. It's a marketing. You can find a lot of examples with marketing sort of agents, and you can go here. And if you click here, you'll have explanations and also the agent itself. And you can just copy this agent and you can, let's see, I don't know what part will get copied. So you can paste the agent here and you can play around with it. You need to add your sort of credentials, but you now have sort of working application on your side. So these are like tried and tested methods. A lot of people share these things. So this is a really good place for you to like find good examples of agents. And their community is strong. Like YouTube has, I mean, YouTube is a bit tricky. I know there's a lot of folks put a lot of content there. Like some of those guys don't know much about what they're talking about. But I think like yeah, if you check the people's sort of background, if they have like relatively computer science background. It's relatively good stuff. But yeah, uh, do reach out, by the way. Like we do have like a WhatsApp group. I'll send an email for that. So we share a lot of resources in that. Like whatever good stuff we find out, I share them. And got a team of like folks help us curate these resources like with who have tried and tested those links, and then so we sort of share them. Yeah, I'm curious whether you have seen examples where the absence of API access or MCP servers, browser-based agents have been effective in automating repeatable back office tasks. Or browser-based agents. Yes, I mean I've done this. I've done this a lot. Especially for you and Maven, like for me to like sort of make sense of the session that I'm doing, things like that. So Maven doesn't give you an API, so I have sort of written like a browser-based agent that sort of like clicks around, sort of get the information for me. So very similar, like especially relatively old websites who may not have these endpoints exposed. You can sort of write these kind of browser-based agents like to fill forms, especially government websites. You can do like very smart scrapers like with Firecrawl, or you can like use browserless. So you can write scrapers or just like use Puppeteer to interact with it and like do certain things on the website, like either to extract information or like interact and like do some workflow. Either way it works. But like yeah, I think like it's very common right now. Obviously, you need to keep track of like if the website gets changed, your agent might break. But it's like with the current sort of the LLM space, you can do a lot more adjustments and you can write very flexible agents and like get it working. But yeah, it's an interesting topic. It's not 100% solved yet, but like there are a lot of progress in that space. Yeah, hope that answers the question. I can take one more question if there's any. All good.